A few months ago, I started designing this multi-residential project here in YeiTuei. And I think I left you hanging before one of the most important parts. That is the design of the facade itself, or facades in this case. That's where the project can either come alive or fall dead in the water. Well, today I actually had to design this facade. So I thought that this would be a great time to take you through my actual process as I do this. I have no idea what's going to come out at the other end of this video, but I'm sure it's going to be exciting. Facades play a hugely important environmental role. They are the first filter between the outside environment and the one we're creating. So how many windows, their size, the materials, the shapes, all these play a fundamental role into how the space inside is actually going to feel and how that building I'm creating is going to be perceived from the outside. So we had to balance both, the cultural aspect of it and the environmental one. And that's all done by the heavy lifting of the facade design. Proportion and rhythm are fundamental, certainly, because they play into that cultural feel. But they also have to be balanced in a way that it benefits from the environment. Am I making sense? So the same applies to material hierarchy or scale and proportions. And then it all has to fit within its context, respecting the legislation. And that is playing a role here as well, as we'll see in a minute. The facade has some design elements to it. Of course, these were more the reflection of what was happening inside. So when I was doing a bedroom, I was usually adding windows. Never really thinking too much about how that facade was going to look like. Maybe here I did this gesture because I just wanted to try it out. I wanted to try as well this, how it looked, also the plinth. And as I was designing all this, I remember thinking of having a base made of brick and then the rest have it rendered. Because I know that this kind of solutions are looked well upon by the council. Also, it makes sense because brick is a sturdier material than the render and it stains significantly less. Now I do have to review quite a few things. I don't really like what's happening here. I'm not entirely a fan of this situation, though from inside I think it's nice, but I think it could be better. I'm gonna see how that works out. Then these windows to the side, I really like them, how they work inside and everything. But the client feels that this could be problematic because it has an overlapping view onto the neighbor's plot. So that makes sense. So we're gonna put it to the back here. And it's fine because it's all part of the same residential unit, so it shouldn't cause any troubles in terms of privacy. So the same thing probably we're gonna do on the other side because both units are similar in that sense. Then I also have to review the height. My problem lies here because although I'm below the maximum height my plot allows, there's also another article in the guide that says that I cannot be above a certain level from the height of my neighbor. For that, I'm gonna pull out my other model. This is my other site model, and here you can see this window can be problematic looking at this neighbor here. Then the other thing I have to review is this protection I have. I actually made it sort of like a note as a reminder to myself that I have to protect that staircase. I cannot leave it open to the rain because if I do leave it open, it's going to stain and it's going to look just hideous. But the reality is the client doesn't like it. He thinks this is hideous. And that's fine. I don't mind. I'm gonna correct it now. It's funny though because a colleague of mine saw the project and actually liked that gesture and told me, whatever you do, keep that. But the client didn't, so I'm not keeping it. But Anyway, those are the things I have to be working on. It's not too much, but let's just see how that comes out. Now, of course, when I'm working like this, I like to use my books as references. I try to draw inspiration from these magnificent architects by copying their drawings, something I liked, which I probably want to steal and apply into my own projects, or copying a layout because I want to understand the project better. As I'm designing, I like drawing little sketches of my facades. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm usually not drawing in perspective. I'm usually just drawing 2D, like an elevation, because I feel it's simpler for me to understand. That's one. Then here, this seems to be working okay. This window here would be moved here, so how is that going to look? Maybe we take the opportunity to make these windows, which are to the back, smaller because they are huge. And this is the west orientation. And nothing guarantees to me that they are going to be planting trees here to protect from that most certain overheating in summer, on a hot day like today. And I also need to add dormers here. Okay, how is this going to look? So the council guidelines specify that windows have to have this vertical look to them. I think I'm overdoing it here. This looks very, very vertical. I fear they might be intimidated by what's happening here. Still could be a way to go. I'm definitely going to test it, but I'm not sure that this is the best solution either. Of course, there's going to be like a hedge here separating the two gardens because these are different units. It would be nicer though if I could do 4 rather than 2. Let me explain. Let me show you. This is my roof line, which I'm now going to break with that dormer. What about if I have 2 dormers each time rather than just 1? Maybe I can test this idea out, because the problem I'm seeing now seems to be a problem of lack of proportion, of verticality. It looks very massive. But maybe this is because my sketch is out of proportion. That could be. So I'm going to test these ideas out and see what I make out of them. I had to add a few more dormers in the bathrooms of each one of the 2 upper units because the client asked me to. I didn't really require them. We could have just added some velexes and that would have been fine. But I think this looks better and he's willing to pay the extra price for this. Then I sorted out this issue with the flat roof, as you can see here. This might look like the obvious solution, but I was kind of against it because the council doesn't look well upon flat roofs in this region. Nevertheless, I think it works, so it's a way to go. I'm also adding the dormers to the back here so that the windows in the bedroom are more comfortable and bring more light in because they will be that much higher up. And then I did some minor modifications here and there. It's probably not finished just yet, but I think it's already looking better and it brings us on a good footing to this new meeting with the council. And I'd love to hear your opinion on this. I mean, what do you think? Do you like this protection? What do you think about the whole project itself? What would you make different? And at this time, I'd like to point out that I want to test something new. We still have a small community, and I'm not complaining. I'm actually going to leverage that to our advantage. You see, I want to see your own projects, so I'd like to see what you're up to, and I'd like to show you my feedback on those. So if this is something that would interest you, register to the newsletter. You'll find the link below. I will send you a link for you to upload your projects and guidelines for you to do so that I can review it here. Now that you saw how I went through the facade design of this project, you probably want to know how I actually started this project, and that is with a site analysis showing up on your screen now. See you in the next one. I'm probably cut my hair too.